Everybody, this is Alan Fine. I'm here with Sean Davern, the co-founder of Cathar Conaill Stone Fort, which is we're actually in the Burn here in Ireland, and we're going to show you sheepdog demonstrations and more here on Insider Travel Report. Sean, thanks for talking to us.
My pleasure, Alan. You're very welcome to Cathar Conaill. We love having people come to visit.
Well, I'm here because of CIE Tours. Let's talk about your relationship with them.
So we've been very lucky with our relationship with CIE. We've worked with them for over 10 years now. Now, we're a farming family here, Alan, so having a company like CIE come knocking our door is great news for us. They're a huge part of Irish tourism, and they're such a long-lived part of Irish tourism. They've been doing this so well and for so long. It's a real endorsement for a family like ours to have someone of their calibre come and knock on our door and say, we'd love to do this with you. So we're always delighted to see you guys coming in.
Well, let's go back and dramatize that moment. I mean, let's talk about the history of this sheep farm, I guess, and how it got to that knock on the door.
So it's very interesting for us. So we're a farming family here. We've been farming here since Catholics could own land in Ireland, and we think we've been here in the valley for over 300 years. Now, we started here with my grandmother, actually, about 35 years ago. So she used to give people who came to visit the fort tea and scones at her house, which is over here. We started here with the fort in about 2003. And then we discovered after 5 or 6 years of doing that we had guests who came and turned the back to our historical site and started looking out at people doing farming out front. So we thought, wouldn't it be nice to do something for them, to give them a sense of what farming life is like here in the Burn. So John, who did your sheepdog show, he's my dad. He's been doing this for 55 years. And John started the sheepdog shows in 2012. So we had our first customers come up here to see us doing sheepdogs way back then. Now, Conor Wall from CIE got in touch with us the following year. He'd been down here with his family, and he was like, you guys, I've seen your sheepdog shows. We'd really like to bring some people in to see those. We couldn't believe it. We were so excited. So we had our first ever CIE tour here in 2013. So they've been coming here for over 10 years now. And more people come to visit us every year. We're always delighted to see them. And we get lovely groups like yours who come into us each morning and afternoon. They always seem so cheery and happy arriving. We're delighted.
Now, when you first started, you didn't have it built up like this. What was the beginnings? How did it look then as opposed to now?
Oh, it looked very different way back then. So this building we've just come out from here was the milking shed on our farm way back then. So we had a milking shed here and we had a hay barn as well. We started originally with 2 lovely stone buildings that are just down here behind where we're doing this. So we had those custom built for us in 2003. And my grandmother still lived up here at that time. So that was still very much part of the working part of the farm at that period. As the sheepdog thing expanded, we've added extra car parking here, and we've created kind of private parking for coaches and buses, so it's easier for people to get in. And then we have the ancillary facilities that you need, so cafes, restrooms, all the things you need to have a comfortable and pleasant visit. We've made the structures for the sheepdog show more permanent over time, so now you have a kind of permanent covered-in structure. And you'll have noticed today it's pretty windy here, but we have the glass front today, so that makes it that bit more comfortable for you when you come to visit us here at Cathar Conaill. So we're all the time trying to make it a bit more pleasant for visitors who come to see us.
Now, could you tell us what we saw? Because I'm going to show footage of your dad. What is it that he was trying to demonstrate for us?
So we're a traditional Burren upland farming family here. Now, we do a very traditional and distinctive kind of farming. So the kind of farming that we do is called winterage or winter grazing. So all our livestock go up the hills in the wintertime and they come down into the valleys in the summer. It's the opposite of what you might expect. Now, part of that tradition is the use of dogs out on the farm. Our uplands here are kind of rough sort of land. So you can't use fertilizers, you can't use pesticides. It means you have to have a very low stocking density on those parts of the farm. So when our livestock head out there, a lot of the time you need the dogs to gather them up for you. Otherwise, you spend 8 hours a day walking around the land. So what he was showing you is how we use the dogs to gather the livestock in from the farm. Now, we'll use multiple dogs together because we need to move the livestock directionally. So you'll see in lots of places people moving livestock kind of towards them. But for us, we might need to move them across because our land is kind of steep. So you might need to move them across and then down. So our dogs have to work individually and as a team. Because of the rocky kind of landscape we have, they also have to be trained to the voice and then to the whistle. So the whistle sounds carries further, and it doesn't echo off all the stone we have here in the burn. So you get a nice clean sound for your dogs. The other thing that all dogs have to learn, and he'd probably shown you with Jill, who's the youngest of the team today, is they have to learn to stop when they're told and stay stopped. It's a very important dog skill. Also a very important skill for young children. So we always tell people he has 4 whistles for each of his dog. So each dog has left, right, walk up and stop. But he had 4 boys and there was only 1 whistle for all of us. So the 1 whistle for all of us was get here right now.
I was wondering like who was getting trained, because we were brought into the area and I felt like we're being herded too.
Well, we always think it's nicer for people to arrive nice and neatly together. It makes for a nicer experience for everybody. As children, we certainly felt like we were trained. We hope you don't feel like that when you come to see us today.
How long does it take to train the dogs?
So the traditional thing people say is 1 year for each leg of the dog and 1 year for the man behind the whistle. So a perfect dog should be trained in about 5 years. So if you see a dog like Rose today, she's always the landmark for us as dog people. She does everything almost perfectly. She's like the good girl in the class. So for Rose, she's been at it for about 7 years. A dog like Jill, who's only been at it for 2 or 3, you can see she's pretty good, but she'll creep occasionally. She'll do things that are not perfect. Now, we all have not perfect moments, so we can't be too critical, but I suppose if you want a dog to be absolutely perfect, it's 5 years is the usual line. And sometimes they say around here the hardest thing isn't the 4 years you spend training the dog, it's the 1 year you spend training the man behind the whistle.
Now, our travel advisors are going to want to know more. Certainly they can go to CIE Tours online, but let's give them your URL.
So we're at caherconnell.com. That's CAHERCONNELL.com. You can see videos from our sheepdog trials there. We also have a YouTube channel and we're out there on social media. We're a very social gang of Irish people here.
Is there anything else you want to tell our travel advisors about what you do and the immersion that you get?
So I think the thing that we always think here is that we're a traditional farming family, and one of the things we want to do is invite you into a day in our life here at Caherconnell. So we think very much that having been here, you should see how our farming family lives. Everybody you meet here is of farming backgrounds. So all the guys who do the sheepdogs are farmers still. They all have sheep of their own. They all have dogs of their own at home. For us here, we're all still working on the farm. So when you were in the cafe, for example, the cheese there comes from my brother's dairy farm. So we're still actively farming, and we're still all local people. So everybody you met around here today lives within 10 minutes drive of the building. So this is very much about becoming part of a local community and learning how a local community survives and thrives. We're part of the Burren Ecotourism Network up here, so we think very strongly about creating a sustainable and long-term viable kind of environmentally friendly tourism. And that's a big part of what we do. We want to continue on the traditions that our ancestors passed on to us. We try and give them a bit of a polish and pass them on to the next generation. And we have a little nephew who's coming up, so hopefully he'll be the next one to be doing.
How many generations?
So my grandmother started this, my dad's doing it, I'm doing it now. I have a nephew who's coming along, so he'll be the 4th generation of people up here telling better jokes hopefully than I do.
But also you're supporting the economics of the area, and how many people are employed here?
So nowadays about 20 people work here, so we're a 7-day-week adventure, and we have about 20 people in total. In the summer it'll be a little more, and we host archaeological digs here on site, so at the peak in the summertime we'll have nearly 30 people who are coming and going from here.
What are you finding?
Oh, so it's a really rich archaeological site. So people lived here for over 1,000 years, over 5,000 years, from 3000 BC all the way through to the 1600s. So it's a very rich archaeological site in terms of its history, and because of the kind of land we have here, it was never really suited to mechanised farming. So we get a wonderful array of archaeological finds all across the period. So it's a really interesting archaeology dig. I'm going to tell you about my 2 favourite ones. Yeah. So the first one's a little glass bead. It came all the way from Venice in Italy, and it made its way all the way to Caherconnell. It arrived here about 500 years ago, we think. And the second one is a beautiful silver finger ring. Now, we're very lucky here at Caherconnell. Our soil is exceptionally good for preserving metal objects. So we get really nice metals. But this silver finger ring is a gorgeous thing, and it has a very unique symbol on the front. So we think it might be a family crest, but we haven't found anything to corroborate that as of yet.
Let's just say so.
Fingers crossed. We think it's a family crest.
Well, thank you for being so hospitable and letting us share this adventure.
It's such a pleasure to have you come visit. And the thing we always say to people is everything changes here every year. We'll have new sheep, new dogs, new history. Come see us again. We're delighted to welcome you to Caherconnell. It's been a pleasure. Alan, thank you so much.
Thank you. And this has been Alan Fine for Insider Travel Report.